one thing that I did think about was the hypocrisy of having a man be inaugurated to be president on the same day as we commemorate MLK. And that same man saying that he was going to get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
The irony of it.
The irony of it, because Martin Luther King not only wanted racial equality, he wanted economic equality. Yeah. And that is something that people tend to miss. And I want to remind people that he said that Black Americans deserved reparations for the injustices they faced. He argued that reparations were a form of justice, in fact, not charity. And he said, quote, "It's all right to tell a man to lift himself by his own bootstraps, but it's cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps." Yeah. And so in thinking about that, and Donald Trump saying things that this country would be a meritocracy, you're talking about a man who didn't become the president of the United States because of merit. He had no political experience whatsoever. He had no business experience. He was given everything that he has. He is a legacy hire. He is, if anything, a DEI hire, a didn't earn it hire. The other thing that I wanted to talk about that a lot of people are talking about is that there are these Black performers. You mentioned that there were entertainers at the inauguration. There are these Black performers that were performing for Snoop Dogg, Nelly, a couple of others. So, for me, even though I didn't watch any of the balls or anything,
I was watching and thinking it's time to retire the phrase normalizing Donald Trump.
Just so everybody knows, there's in the audience, when you sit there, if you go to a show, there's going to be applause signs up everywhere. So don't think these people are applauding or giving any kind of grooming to these people for anything they say. There's a light that comes on, applause every time you see this light.
Donald Trump is normalized. Whether you like it or not, 75 million people voted for him. He is now as much a part of American history as George Bush, Barack Obama, and any other two-term president.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
And I was shocked by the imagery of he left 4 years ago in disgrace. He left, barely anyone showed up when he announced his reelection 2 years ago. And now he came back to D.C. like a conquering king. He had the biggest titans of industry there. He had celebrities. He had fashion designers. He had Democrats and every former president there. And I think that it's a moment to take note of why he won and the reasons that he did, but also Democrats are not a footnote in this. They had 4 years to beat him. They had the chance to make a case against him. 4 years ago, they had the White House, the House, the Senate, and Silicon Valley. Now they have none of those above. I think it was prudent that Joe Biden preemptively pardoned people like Dr. Fauci and Mark Milley, who are political targets for Donald Trump. He has expressed that. I was floored that Joe Biden pardoned his whole family.
Okay, I was too. He is such a scumbag for pardoning his entire family. And I think what's happened is he set a precedence now. So when Trump pardons, when it's all over and said and done, don't say a damn word. Don't say shit.
Tell you why. He's either the most charitable interpretation is the Titanic is sinking. I've got a life raft for my family, but anyone else who challenged Trump, you better swim or you're drowning. That's my most charitable interpretation. And finally, he didn't do anything to protect people who testified against Donald Trump unless they happen to be wrapped up with the police officers. And it sets a very dangerous precedent. Now Donald Trump can basically advise staff and his family to do anything unlawful and then just issue a blanket pardon when he leaves office. I think it was disgraceful and it's going to harm his legacy.
I think comparing Biden's pardons to Trump's is like comparing apples to Volkswagens.
It would be oranges, dumbass.
Seems really similar when
it does not seem similar to me because Joe Biden's family and the people he pardoned in the January 6th committee have not actually committed crimes. He is trying to prevent them from spending the rest of their lives fighting the government, which is no easy feat.
I wanted to put a quick button on it because I was not offended by Biden pardoning his family because I think, just like Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you or tells you who they are, believe them the first time. Right. We've already had a Trump presidency. We know that this administration is a vengeful one. We know this is a vengeful man. And if I can protect me and mine.
So they've come after him. They've come at him since like day one. But he's vengeful. Oh, God, give me a break.
I would do that. And so I think we need to show Joe Biden some grace.
My fear is the precedent it's set, because I think Biden holds himself on this certain moral high ground, and he's setting a very dangerous precedent.
Against a very dangerous man.
Yes, that's going to allow that man to basically give blanket pardons to anyone who chooses
But he would do it anyway.
But now
really disappointed, not surprised, just to be clear, but disappointed that there wasn't one kind thing to say about the outgoing administration. Because
Well,
even
contraire, he was merciless to the outgoing.
that's my point. That's my point. Even if you are, even if you find it really hard, there could have been. They spent the morning together. They had a welcome tea. The President Biden and Vice President Harris did everything we all criticized Donald Trump throughout the door. They did all the traditions of handing off the baton. And he couldn't even muster up one small thing to say, thank you for kindly welcoming us back or something.
No.
It was a kind of a gut punch of sorts.
Well, that's not who he is, right? I mean, he's not a statesman.
The one big benefit I got from this episode was Joy was not that involved, which watching her talk and her level of stupidity, although Sunny is, they're kind of neck and neck. It's really hard to compete. They're both complete idiots. So it's hard to say. The typical thing too, when January 20th, they didn't pick the day. He didn't pick that day saying like, I think it's best that we do this on Martin Luther King's birthday. I would not be any way, shape, or form upset if it ever got canceled. It is such garbage. It's really hard to watch these shows because I don't watch it, but I watch it for this content. And then I watch it and I'm going over it and I'm like, fuck is wrong with these people? They're just so batshit crazy. It's just boggles me. So there you are. Another one from the spew. Everybody, thank you so much for subscribing, watching, engaging. It's awesome. I appreciate it. And as usual, I want y'all to be safe, take care, and I'll see you soon. I'm Van Johnson.